Target reminds me more of Jimco.
Jimco?
It was like a membership store back when I was a kid that my parents belonged to. So I don't know what I would compare it to now. Maybe a Walmart.
Well, there you go.
But not really Walmart, but it was back in the days. They had a little, I remember it because it was in Lancaster where the old Toys R Us building is.
Yeah.
Which is probably before your time.
No, I remember it.
But they had a little door for carts that I would always wanted to go through because I was a little kid. So it was my door.
The cart door was your door.
In my mind, it was, but kids do weird shit. That's what's kind of fun about having a grandson now. Is like we'll just go somewhere and he'll walk around and be in his own little world.
Hell yeah! I guess we should get into this so that I can take care of my son.
Okay.
And he needs a bath, and I need to edit 2 episodes, so it's gonna be
and watch a Kings game.
And watch a Kings game. It's my favorite time to edit because I don't have to watch them lose. I can actually just hear them lose, which is a treat.
No, I hate Vancouver's team. I want them to beat them.
Shout out to our Canadian audience.
I'm fine with Canadian teams. I just don't like the Vancouver team. They're one of my least favorite teams in hockey.
That would be the Canucks. Yep. And the Oilers, for the record.
I mean,
they're the worst, and we can all agree. Everyone agrees. We don't have to go further.
The Oilers at least have had a lot of players in the past that I learned to like when they came to the Kings. Vancouver had Pavel Bure.
And you act like that wasn't a big deal? Come on, man.
Yeah, that's where my hockey number's from.
I thought he was number 8.
No, that's Teemu Selanne. Actually, Pavel Bure was number 10 most of his career, but for 1 year, he went to 96.
Yeah.
And that's... And as soon as I picked that number, I started scoring goals.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, man. I'm reminded of such a funny... You remember that jersey we got? For the Game of Thrones jersey we got that one year? Well, I asked your daughter what your number was, right? And I had just moved up here months before, and so we're making you this custom Game of Thrones jersey. Wanted to get your number for it. And she told me, and for whatever reason, my mind switched it, made it 69.
A lot of people have done that.
But I got it made, and I showed your daughter, and she was like, his number is 96. I'm like, oh, thank God. I was like, I wasn't sure if it was like a pervert thing or just, whatever. And so I had to go get it fixed because I was like, I can't give my future father-in-law a jersey with the number 69.
Yeah, especially since I've never worn that number. But yeah, when I used to play hockey and I had that number, people, I know what that is. I'm like, no, man.
Yeah, it means you sleep butt to butt. You like that?
And then it's like, then they had to listen to my Pavel Bure story and how I picked that number. And the year was 1996.
Yeah.
So I've had that number since that year.
It's been a while.
Yeah.
It's been a while. Anyway, folks, welcome back to the show. This week, we're getting into some particularly sinister stories. Or at least there's one story in here that's very wild, and I think I saved it for the end because I wasn't sure if we're going to make it or not. And it's a story that is difficult to believe, but it's mundane and difficult to believe. I know what you're thinking. Wow, Scott, a difficult to believe mundane story on a spooky ghost podcast. Are you sure? Yes. Anyway, we're going to go ahead and get into that episode momentarily. But before we get into the intro, be sure to follow us on social media at Freaky Deaky Pod. Wherever you are at, we are at that as well. And if you have not yet reviewed the show, please do that. We're trying to pass Tony over at the confessionals, and he has about 10,000 more reviews than we do. So it's going to be a long time coming.
No, it's not. We're coming for you, Tony.
Yeah, listen up, Tony. All right.
Thanks for keeping us warm in the winter, but we're still coming for you.
Yeah, Tony. We like the things you do. And hey, Tony, if we could, we would be you. You're the one and only tiger with the one and only flakes, or whatever the song goes.
No, man, I like my hair.
Oh. This isn't a Head and Shoulders commercial. We're talking about evil. We'll see you on the inside.
Is Tony evil?
You are now entering the realm of the Freaky Deaky, an unsuspecting stop at the crossroads of fantasy and reality, where the frayed edges of make-believe seep into this cookie-cutter white picket world you've been led to believe is far from extraordinary. What you're about to hear are true stories.
Alleged true stories.
Christian, just... Okay? Tales of the strange and inexplicable thought only to exist in film and folklore. Although difficult to accept, we do not know everything about this reality. About time or space, what lies beneath the ocean's depths. And try though we might, the unchanging truth remains. There are some things we legitimately cannot explain logically.
Depends on who you ask.
If
If you read enough of his reviews, people sure think he is. But he's got a gentle soul.
I feel bad
he's
for
a
you
good man.
if we ever get that big and I won't even read the review.
Look, I'm at the point now where I'm slowly weaning off answering YouTube comments. So you're going to have to take over that again. But which is, hey, apologies to our listening base where you'll get like one word, 0 emojis, 0 emotion. And if that happens, you know it was Christian. For the time being, I'm still answering occasionally. When I get the downtime, I'll comb through some of the old YouTube comments. So be sure to let us know if you're listening on YouTube, where you're listening from. Do you tell your friends? Are you in a foreign country that is not America? How you doing over there? Should we come over there and talk about ghosts? You let us know that and more in the comments. In the meantime, did I already introduce us? The intro's passed, right? Yes, it did.
You didn't even introduce us last week.
Yeah, well, they know who we are. I was more talking about, did I introduce the theme music?
I don't remember.
I think I did. I believe in my heart of hearts. Hey, Scott, you're editing this right now. Did I? Yes. Okay, cool. Thank you. So anyway, you guys know, as I mentioned, we're talking about evil. It's a subject that people find a lot of fascination with, myself included. And I know we've had many a discussion about whether it's like evil actually exists, or is it just a state of mind, or is it just a made up hogwash that we throw into the ether and see what comes out?
I think most of what we call evil is not evil.
See, yeah, and that's why I thought this would be a good episode, because you'd get to flesh out your ideas a little bit more. I'd get to prove you wrong time and time again, as is tradition.
I feel like you always say you get to prove me wrong, but we never really get past the, like, we're just stating our opinions and not proving each other wrong.
Well, no, see, I prove you wrong in the timestamps. That's the only area that I actually prove you wrong, because I'll mention this is where I want to debate. This is where this happened. So I just get my little jabs in during the timestamps. It's therapeutic. It's quite therapeutic.
Scott is the luckiest man in the world.
Yeah, it's quite the gifted and blessed life. Okie doke.
We're almost
Sounds
done here.
exact
I
same.
only have like 2 sips of coffee left.
Okay. That's cool. Anywho.
Sorry, folks. It's going to be a short episode.
It is already 8 minutes in, so you got longer than I anticipated. However, this first story is called The Cleaner. It's by Christoph Boxkus. You know what? I'm just going to say Christoph. I was hoping this happy water would ease the frog within. We'll see if it takes hold. We're starting things off a little lighter, but still creepy. And we'll get your opinion after that. Wasn't that fun? About 12 years ago, and still to this day. Wow. Sentence makes no sense whatsoever. This happened about 12 years ago. I'll just say that. I won a contract cleaning a surgical care center after hours, of course. It's very big. 6 exam rooms, 4 storage closets, 4 physical therapy rooms, various offices, huge reception area, separate for staff and patients waiting to be called, plus 2 bathrooms and a staff kitchen. When I was first being shown the place, so I could give an estimate, when we got to one certain room, my stomach went ice cold, and I kid you not, the hair on the back of my neck literally stood up. I didn't say anything. This was right after the 2007 recession. After all, I needed the work. So obviously I won the contract, but every time I went, wasn't the recession in 2008?
It was around that time. I don't remember, man, but it was just funny that like he threw that in there. I'm like, what does that matter? But then he said, I needed the money. Okay, I get it.
What would be truly tragic if he thought the recession was 2007 and he's like, oh, finally. And then the recession hits in 2008 and he's like, well, at least I have a job, I guess.
Well, one of the things I think with recessions is certain jobs notice it way before other jobs. And that's what pushes us into the recession. I'm not an economist, so don't quote me on this. I'm much better with religion. I'm an expert there.
Everyone quote him on the economist part. So obviously I won the contract, but every time I went by that room, the same thing. I got an ice cold feeling in my stomach and the hair on my neck. This went on. I was actually scared. I just got a really bad feeling, unexplained. I talked with my reverend. I eventually got to know the 9 to 10 staff nurses, etc., and none of them ever felt it. But 15 to 20 times, I would see something out of the corner of my eye. A fleeting figure, a moving shadow. And this is the kicker. I vacuum from back to front, a true professional. This room is in the back. When I was locking up and shutting the lights, I went to the back. There were footprints on freshly vacuumed carpet. I was the only one there, but they were only going one way, back into the room. There was nobody there. It still freaks me out just writing about it. I know this sounds strange, but it's real. I can't explain it. My reverend told me to just ignore it and don't try to engage it. The nurses never felt or seen anything. If you think I'm nuts, that's okay. I know what I've seen and what I feel, and it's the same today as it was 12 years ago. Freaky. So, nice little starter course for you.
What do I want to say here?
You want to say it's definitely evil because he had just vacuumed and it walked right back into the room with shoes on.
You know what?
That's pretty evil.
That's probably the most evil thing I've ever heard on this podcast.
It's a little subtle, but it gets you.
And disrespectful.
Very disrespectful.
When a ghost does something like this, or whatever we want to call this
Let's
entity,
just call it a demon. We'll throw it out there.
Well, you know what? If they walk on your freshly vacuumed carpet, exorcism is in line.
There's really no other way about it.
Like it's one thing to have your head spin around and spit green fluid and all that kind of
Child's play.
Yeah, but if you're going to
play.
walk across my carpet and make me look like I didn't do my job in a recession.
Yeah.
Also, this guy, obviously reverends can't do exorcisms. This person needs to take it up a notch. I find it interesting that it's a surgery center and he feels that cold because I feel freaking cold when I go get surgery.
That is true.
I mean, part of that's to keep.
It's a sterilization thing, I believe. Yeah.
Man, I remember when I got my knee replaced, they were putting warm sheets on me because I was so cold.
Wow.
And it was heaven.
I believe it. Yeah.
Heaven. I don't know if it was
nurses doting on you. I bet that was great.
Oh, it was amazing. Warm blankets.
Excuse me. I need help.
Nerve blockers and whatever else they were putting into that.
Heroin, turns out.
No, I don't
they
think
were shooting you up.
They were shooting me up. I didn't feel actual real pain for a couple till the nerve blocker wore off, though.
Hell yeah. I feel bad for the person that is tuning in for the first time and didn't realize that half of what you had just done there was complete and total sarcasm. But welcome to the show. Either way, be sure to review it. Takes 5 seconds, you know?
Now, away from the sarcasm, it's surgery center, so people probably died.
That would make sense.
And maybe some people weren't ready to leave, so they're still hanging out.
I don't remember. Did he mention what the room was? It was just an office, right?
Well, I think he did like the whole surgery center, but like the carpet part, But
it was that one room that he kept feeling that.
Yeah,
stuff
that sounded like that was a surgery room, the carpet. First, I'm like, why is he vacuuming in a surgery room? That's a good way to throw dust all over the place. And then he said carpet. I'm like, okay,
way
that
to
makes
go,
sense.
Christoph. No, yeah. What if it's like an old manager or something like that? You know, because it's just that one room. Maybe it's an office or something. Just like a really curmudgeon-y old dickhead boss.
That would walk across your carpet and then write you up for not vacuuming.
Say, hey, whose footsteps are these, huh? They're mine. That's fine.
When I was before I started my current job, I did that inventory job for a little while. We did a surgery center. There was so much shit there.
There's too much.
Like I had to go through sutures.
That's a lot of work.
Yeah. I had no idea how many different types of sutures there were.
And halfway through, you're like, there's too many types of sutures, all right?
Yeah. I did get to see what the parts of my knee look like, and I held a couple of them, though. That was weird.
Weird flex on your part, but...
It was all weird, but not recommended. I did not get, the hair standing up on the back of my neck. I don't know if I don't have a time in my life where I remember that happening in these types of situations.
Yeah. I don't know. I felt weird in certain houses. Who's to say what it was, Or at certain times. I guess, sometimes you can just be sitting there watching TV at night, everyone's asleep and you're fine. But then sometimes you're sitting there watching TV at night and you're like, someone's watching me. And you look around, you don't see anyone, and you're like, well, clearly there's a demon afoot.
I've never had that feeling.
Really? You never had the feeling of someone watching you?
Not when I'm at home by myself.
Really? Even at like 2 a.m. or something, and it's kind of eerily quiet everywhere else in the world, and you're just like,
I'm usually up at 2 a.m. too, or close to it.
Well, it is the witching hour nearby.
Other than
it
that,
shifts so often. Who can tell?
The hand on my butt was the only thing that even comes close.
And you do reminisce on that often.
I miss it. Demons are real. What's funny is like later on, I saw like a little meme of somebody talking about the monster under the bed eating you. And then you see the lady hanging her butt off the bed.
Yeah.
I was like, that's what I felt like.
Yeah. Well, it's a little TMI for the rest of us, but all right. No,
I had my clothes on
for the time being. Anyway, we're going to go ahead and get into this second story here. It's called Drag Down to the Basement. And it's by
Did you steal that from a movie?
No, I feel like it's a common theme in like scary movies and stuff.
Drag Me to Hell.
That is, again, I actually ended up watching that movie after we last talked about it because it had been so long.
Good movie.
It's a great movie. It's no Spider-Man, but no, I'm just kidding. It's fine. And it's by Mary Bricklin. It says, for a couple of years, my aunt would have me go to her house to watch her dogs while she went on vacation. Every time I went, I'd get an uneasy feeling about her basement. I've always had a thing about basements, but hers in particular really bothered me. I mean, the first couple of times I ignored it and stayed down there to watch TV, but I could never get comfortable in that room. The last few times I stayed in that house, I'd close the basement door whenever I was there, only leaving it open when I had to go down there. A few times I'd get up and see the door standing open even though I knew I just shut it. Then I started to have nightmares of standing at the top of the stairs and being dragged down them by something invisible. They'd happen every night I was in that house and only stopped when she sold the house. Weird. Do you think there's a correlation between dreams and haunted locations? Or dream? I guess
I would think if there are haunted locations, that could affect your dreams.
Do you remember that house we were going to go to, like Heather's old neighborhood?
Yeah.
And we kind of drove by and we were checking it out or whatever.
Didn't we get out and look around?
We did, yeah. We're a little creepy, but it's fine. If I remember correctly, she had mentioned that either she had talked to the old owners of it or that she talked to the neighbors, and someone had mentioned that they always had nightmares in that house. And it was about being like pretty much stalked by an entity inside the home and just crazy stuff happening like that. And it did have an eerie vibe to it inside. You know, it's a little disheveled. It's been vacant for a few years at this point. We should maybe get in touch with Heather again. Be like, hey, you want to go down one last Scooby-Doo rabbit hole before you hit the old dusty trail for good? And maybe we should just stay the night in there.
No,
you wouldn't want to document that, like film and stuff like that. Just goof off and then have our souls damned for eternity or something.
I mean, I don't think that's possible, but
only one way to find out, really.
Fine, I'm in.
There you go. It's probably never going to happen. We have very busy lives. We can at least pretend like we're like gung-ho for it. Like, yeah, hell yeah, let's do it. That never happens.
Why do you think people are so afraid of basements?
Well, there is an eerie factor to them. Look, basements are either incredibly cool and dope or terrifying. There's really no middle ground, you know?
Do you think it's like some of it could just be because it's not your typical room? There's not typically windows or very good windows.
Yeah, if there's windows, there's like the quarter windows or something that are at the top of the wall where you just see footsteps walking by.
Because my grandmother, my dad's mother, lived in a house that her husband, my grandfather built.
Sure.
And the rooms, other than the living room, the rooms didn't have very big windows. It was always dark and spooky and creepy.
Yeah.
And this is a house built up. It's basically the exterior was rocks cemented together. You know, the interior was built like a regular house, but you know, it was just the walls were rocks, basically, stacked upon. They looked like they were
big ass boulders, or like
some flat rocks. But it looked fine. It looked like the person that built it, my grandfather, knew what he was doing. It was just an older style. But it was a spooky house when I was young, and I never had any spooky experiences. But it was just not a place that you enjoyed being.
Yeah,
really dark in those rooms.
Yeah, I've been in a few houses where I never saw anything, but I definitely felt things.
Yeah.
Where it's just an uncomfortable thing. And that could easily just be lighting. It could be like a handful of things that are, you know, some weird infrasound coming from the fridge or old pipes or whatever. But yeah, it's creepy nonetheless. Yeah.
Next time I go out that way, I should drive through that area where my grandmother's house used to be and find the address of the house that's where her property was, because they built tract homes over it. Once she passed away, they bought that whole area. Now it's all just a regular California tract home in Fontana, California.
Wow, who could have foreseen that happening? California.
Capitalist.
Yeah, that does check out for sure.
Not that I'm pro-communism. I'm just saying capitalism. It's money.
Well, if I take out a couple words there, it's going to just be you saying I'm pro.
Please don't.
I'm pro-communism. That'd be a great soundbite.
It would be, but also not in this day and age. I'm not a communist anyway.
And who needs that one when you have this?
Penis.
You know?
I'm going to have to... I do say a lot of weird shit, though. I do.
There's a lot of fun, examples. But it's fine. We're going to go ahead and get into this next story called The Walking Dead Man. And it's by Roger Cruz. It's about 20 years ago, I was living on the Blackfeet Indian Reservation in northern Montana. There's enough weird and supernatural shit that happens there anyway. Well, we were having a party at my apartment and had about 10 people there. We were running out of alcohol, and I was elected to make the liquor run about a block away.
That sounds,
Great choices.
Yeah.
I went into the bar and made my purchase. I keep picturing, like, you went into the bar? Are you like, I'll have 10 beers to go, please?
I guess maybe maybe Montana's like that.
Yeah. Can I just take a 12-pack instead of the single at this bar, please? I don't know. That's fine.
Maybe the stores were closed and that was the only option.
Possibly. I went into the bar and made a purchase when I heard someone walk in. As I was getting ready to leave, I smelled the worst stink ever. It was like sewer, diapers, and rotten food all mixed together. I was starting to retch and gag when I saw the source of the odor. It was a man that I knew as Stenog, interesting name, who was the school truant officer.
Even more interesting.
Even more. He looked even worse than he smelled. This man has really gone downhill, I thought to myself. I held my breath and attempted to walk past him. His eyes didn't look right. They had no life to them as he stared at me. I got the creepiest feeling that I've ever felt. He then let out this strange noise. It was something like a scream. I can honestly say that I got chills. Wow, this guy is really off his nut. I walked back to the party, relieved that I was away from that weirdo. I grabbed a beer and sat down, saying, "You guys won't believe the crazy shit I just went through." I then relayed the story of what just happened, and everyone just kind of got quiet. Someone started laughing and then asked me how much I had to drink and what kind of drugs I was on. I told him, "What do you mean?" Another person near me said, "Stenog died 3 days ago." I replied, "Yeah, right, I just saw him, and I know what I saw." A couple of people left the party because they said I creeped them out. I creeped them out. I was creeped out. The more I thought about it, the more freaked out I became. Did I really see him? Did this shit really happen? Who's going to believe me? After contemplating everything, I came to the conclusion that I wasn't wrong. I did see him, and I can't explain it. I gave up trying to make sense of it all and just decided to accept it for what it was, for my own sanity. To this day, I still can't reconcile what I saw and what I know. It still chills me to the bone. That one is bizarre. I was almost going to put that one in last week's episode because it's just such a weird story. And it's not necessarily, I mean, I guess, again, it depends on where you place your bar for evil. You know what I mean? Like, this doesn't technically, it could just be a weird zombie dead guy that you saw, a spirit of some kind. But
you're a Christian and
the stench. It's got to be the stench, right?
Well, the stench is very fascinating on this story.
Clearly, it's a dead man, but also, you know, the evil or demon, what is it? What does the smell?
Sulphur?
Sulphur, yeah. It kind of smells loosely like what he described.
A lot of people haven't smelled sulfur necessarily.
It just smells like rotten eggs to an extent.
Right, which could be misconstrued for trash.
Or maybe he just farted. Maybe he just cut a really thick one, you know? We've all experienced those. Don't deny it.
Zombies theoretically could expel air in their day-to-day activities because they're moving around if they got some air trapped up in there.
Yeah.
And if zombies are probably rotting from the inside out to a certain level, so
probably doesn't smell great. Yeah. Now, you would think if it was a zombie, though, everyone else in the bar would have been like, "Oh, goodness, would you look at that? A zombie." But he was the only one that seemed to notice it.
I mean, what kind of bars do they have in Montana where they just let dead people come in and drink? Belly dead people.
I mean, metaphorically speaking, probably a lot of dead people go into bars and drink, but we're not here to judge anyone. You know, he who cast the first stone and whatnot, that's not my responsibility.
Do you ever think it's fascinating that bars aren't really a thing like they used to be when I was a kid? My dad would go to the bar every day after work, and a lot of people did. Nowadays, people are like, "I'm going home and playing video games."
Well, I think there's a divide generationally, of course, but there's also still the same bar fiends that there used to be. You know, like it's just maybe it's lesser, but bars are still completely functional. You know, it's still alive and well.
I think it is. Like, some of them are fine. There's a couple down the street that are pretty packed every time I drive. Not really down the street, but a couple miles away that are packed.
You're talking about the gunshot, or what is it?
Mugshot.
Yeah.
I don't remember the other one right now.
Wasn't that just the place of like a drug sting or something like that?
Yeah.
God, this fucking town, man.
It was, people were some of the workers were selling drugs.
You know what's weird is every time I drove by it, I got a weird feeling about it. And I drive by tons of bars. I've never had, like, I was in Vegas for 6 years, all right? There's plenty of bars out there I really love.
Well, that one has a long history from what my coworkers tell me.
I can feel the vibe.
Yeah, and it's a long history with, well, I mean, it's a bar. There's some always shady things that go on in bars throughout.
It's not going to have a great history, you know?
It's no chicken bucket.
I guess it's no chicken bucket.
That's where my dad used to go. They called it the chicken bucket.
You know, not a lot of creativity with the bar names back then, it turns out.
I actually used to work there part-time cooking.
Let me guess. Chicken?
No, I cooked a mean-ass hamburger there, though. Like, they didn't
Was it just super rare?
No, it was really good. Because it was,
on harm.
It was the 80s. So
all the drugs made anything taste good.
Well, the meat was probably a little bit less filled with whatever it's filled with now.
Growth hormones.
Yeah, so it tasted better.
You know what? You've convinced me, Christian.
That's where I met my first murderer.
Okay. I didn't see the story going that direction, but mazel.
One of these days we will, it's not spooky or anything, but we do need to, that's a funny is not the right word. It's a weird story.
It's hilarious when you meet murderers, let's be honest.
Today's not the day, but we'll bring it up again sometime.
Sure. We just got to have, like I said, and a little update. I know it's like middle of March, end of March at this point. Little update on the Patreon action. Still kind of fleshing things out. Yeah, I've decided we should just chill. Let's just chill with it. We're not going to rush it. We're going to take our time, figure out where we want it to go, get a nice catalog going so the fine folks that subscribe to it have plenty of content coming out.
Also, to not traumatize me like you did already.
Mm-hmm. The episodes get a little strange. Christian needs a little time to recover, take a cold shower and whatnot. So, yeah, that happens. That happens with the subject matter, it turns out. But either way, maybe in the summer, maybe beyond the fall, maybe it's a Christmas release. Who knows?
No, we need to do it.
There's so many options and so many bad things with each of them. You know what I mean? That it's like, you really got to side by side everything and be like, this is where we're going to go and pull the trigger on this. And, just haven't gotten there yet.
I should have really eaten.
You should have really eaten.
My stomach is growling like crazy.
Dude, that was me at work today. Oh my God. It was like, I swear to God, 5 minutes straight, nonstop. I was just sitting at my desk and it was like, and it's embarrassing. Like, luckily, no one was in the office at the point. It was like 6 a.m. But it wasn't anything else. It was literally just hunger.
I can't hear it, but I have a feeling you might when you edit.
Like, Christian, I think we might have picked up some actual evil demons.
No.
While recording this episode.
Just the one I ate.
Anyway, speaking of summoning evil demons, this next story is called Summoning Satan.
Oh, I do that on Saturdays.
And Christian sent this one in. No, it's anonymous for obvious reasons, I'm sure. Anyway, says I used to practice a lot of black magic.
Oh my God, one of these guys.
Racism, not in this America. Not today, sir, not ever, or ma'am, sorry. One day, out of curiosity, I summoned Satan.
No, you didn't.
I know. Yeah, that's usually the case. With a prayer of some sort I had found on the internet. Classic.
Oh my gosh.
How to summon the devil. Google. Anyway, I didn't think it would work, but within a few minutes, something or someone knocked over the picture frame from my desk right in front of my eyes. It must have been the devil. No, it didn't scare me, though. Later that night, I couldn't sleep at all. So I went downstairs to lie on the couch and watch some TV. I ended up dozing off and had a nightmare that my husband came down to choke me, and it woke me up. Hey, now. I could barely breathe and had to sit up and catch my breath. As I sat up, I saw a dark shadow of a man just sitting there with one leg crossed on the smaller couch. It looked like he had horns. He was laughing, hee hee hee, and literally typed that in there, and said something, but I couldn't understand him. His voice sounded like he was talking from inside of a tin can from far away. I then saw demon faces on the TV, growling. I got so scared I ran back upstairs to lie with my hubby. The next morning I heard my daughter call my name, but she was already at school, so it couldn't have been her. Then I heard something fall downstairs, and it was a drinking glass. I couldn't take it anymore and went to go seek help at a Catholic church. Since I wasn't a member, I couldn't get a priest to come out. Is that how it works?
I think she just sounds crazy.
If that's, I mean, we've got Catholics to listen to the show. Is that how it works? No, I swear some non-believers can get a priest to come out to their house. It doesn't. Is it just members? That sounds more like maybe a Mormon thing.
To get it to maybe have an exorcism, you might need to be a member. But also, how many times do you think especially Catholic priests, get people like this coming into the church, and it's not demons. It's drugs or something like that.
There's usually a slew of steps you have to go through before you can actually get a bona fide exorcism.
Yeah, including going to a psychiatrist.
I had to tell my husband, and he got so angry with what I had done. As time passed, the demon tormented us. My husband and I were arguing a lot. My daughter said she was seeing stuff fly around in her room. I kept hearing voices calling my name, but no one was there. Eventually, my husband and I sold the home and ended up divorcing.
Yeah?
Never again did I mess with black magic or anything satanic. I was inexperienced and created a mess, so I just let it all go, even though I loved my candles and spells. I should have never taken it a step further. It destroyed a lot, but I'm okay now. Weird direction that went.
Somebody that doesn't believe in the modern devil.
Okay.
It still would be stupid to do it this way.
Yeah.
If you truly were into like spells and candles, well, then you might want to learn something.
Yeah, how about you crack open a book, lady, huh?
You know,
how about you go sacrifice a goat on a mountaintop somewhere? You ever think about that?
Do it like they did in the old days.
Yeah, take your child somewhere.
No, stop. Well,
I was going to take it a step further, but
Please
see
don't.
that I have been okie dokie.
The algorithm demons will come after us. But yeah, it just seems stupid on every level.
Yeah.
And then to be like, well, a Catholic priest wouldn't even see me. Yeah, because you sound kooky.
What are they, the devil?
And you did it yourself.
That is true. That one's kind of on you, and also at the same time, you don't necessarily need a Catholic priest. You could just go to any old church and they just call it something different. It's not going to be like a full-fledged exorcism. They probably call it like Deliverance ministry or something like that. There's, Protestants also have these types of things, if I may. And though to be fair, I have gone to many churches and I've never heard anything about a deliverance team in any of them. But I know that if you were to ask them about it specifically, they probably got people to go pray with you or something. But I just was never that guy.
Might have saved your marriage.
It might have saved my marriage.
Also, doing black magic while your husband's upstairs sleeping is a sign that there's something else going on.
That is frowned upon, it turns out, especially if you enjoy rest.
Yeah. And then, some people have very suggestive minds and might start seeing things if you believe you summoned something. Penis. That would definitely be grounds for divorce.
Turns out. Yeah. Fairly easy to summon as well. But
my husband wasn't doing it for me, so I summoned Satan's penis.
Oh, God.
It had horns.
Wow. Well, it had one at the very least. Anywho, now we got all that fun stuff out of the way and super juicy soundbite. Scott, I hope you grabbed that.
Yeah.
Satan's penis. That's going to be a treat. Anyway. It's going to people are going to hate that every time. So what do you think it was? Satan's penis. Wow. Anyway, sorry, children of the audience. We're going to go ahead and get into this next one, which is called Pulled Back In. And it's by Nathan Miller.
Also about Satan's penis.
Well, maybe. When I was having a nightmare, night terror, I could see just one man/demon in my dream. I was sitting in the corner of a dark room, which looked like an abandoned wooden shed. In this dream, I couldn't move and saw the tall demonic presence moving closer to me and closer and closer. I tried ignoring it at first, but then it got so close I began to feel his breath. Oh yeah. He was tall, wearing a long black robe. Wearing a long, black, robe. Could have just made that wearing a long black robe, I feel, but that's fine.
Feels like the person got the stereotype right.
Yeah, he was long and black and wearing a robe. Robe-like covering tied around his waist. Everything about his features were dark, except for his face. It was a dim gray, white distortion, something evil. I tried waking up, but I couldn't at first, so I closed my eyes and lowered my breaths to force myself out. Little did I know, this was no ordinary night terror. I started waking up, but I felt a weight on me trying to keep me there. I eventually made it out somehow and cried for my wife's help. I managed to be wide awake while she awoke and saw that I was up. Although she may not have seen what had caused it, she was there to see what happened to me next. I saw two hands coming from almost nowhere, black, demonic, glove-like hands They grabbed hold of my upper chest and shoulders and pulled me straight back into the realm where I had previously been experiencing the night terror. A demon grabbed me and I could do nothing. My wife said she saw me jolt up and sink into the bed in a way where it appeared that something was pushing me down. I eventually fought it off and came back out of the terror only to get a glimpse of that same demon hovering over me while I slept. All in all, I learned what this could be. I came to the conclusion it was not an identity disorder or a physio hallucination.
Physio hallucination?
I know. So you mean like a...
Is that a made-up word?
Physiological, maybe? But can't you just say it wasn't a physical hallucination? Well, I guess physical and hallucination kind of counter. It's fine. But in fact, was a demon physically attacking me because of the direction I was headed in my spiritual growth?
No.
Interesting. Well, actually, the two interesting points to this. Remember that my dad had something similar back in his early days of the faith before he fell out that I've never heard him say specifically, but I've heard secondhand, where, that whole if the devil's real or whatever bit being pulled into your mattress. That's kind of the visual I got for this. Secondly,
I got Johnny Depp being pulled in the mattress in Nightmare on Elm Street.
Great visual as well. Yeah, don't picture that. Secondly, are you aware, and you're probably, as soon as I say the name, you're going to just lose your mind, but I actually have come to enjoy this fellow.
I probably won't lose my mind, but...
You might.
Go ahead.
Okay, recently, probably by the time this comes out, probably like 6 to 8 months ago, someone came out saying that they were physically attacked by a demon, which they thought was in a dream, but it was actually physically being scratched up by a demon. Do you want to take any guesses as to who it was?
Is it someone famous?
Mm-hmm.
Billie Eilish?
No. Reporter.
Tucker Carlson?
Boom.
Well, I mean, I have never, ever
liked him.
Believed a word he said.
You know what's really strange is when he was on Fox, I couldn't stand the guy.
I still can't stand the guy.
But when he got his own, and I tuned into a few of his episodes and listened, I actually really enjoy it. I think he's a great guy.
I think a lot of people have said that he is actually a decent guy and that his whole news image was fake, which kind of makes sense, but also, whatever, man.
But
a demon didn't fucking scratch you, Tucker. I'm sorry.
The story is actually pretty wild, and it's weird to hear someone that was like, that you like knew as a newscaster being like, yes, anyone was attacked by a physical demon. It shows that like when you're actually a part of those news networks and then you get booted out or whatever and you start your own thing, like you can just be yourself. You don't answer to anyone. You can talk however you'd like. Actually thoroughly, like I used to just really not like him. And it's the same thing for a lot of people, like celebrities especially, that I don't like. If I listen to him talk long enough and I see commonality, I'm like, I guess he's just like a normal person like me.
But he's not.
He is.
He's what I would call a grifter.
Wow. That's a hot take.
I mean, that's what he did in his...
What, Fox News terms?
Yeah, I'm like, that's all. If that's all you're doing, then you're not genuine. And I have trouble believing anything you say afterwards. But anyway, let's go. Yeah. Let's not argue about Tucker.
Yeah, it's fine.
Let's talk about the fact that there are no demons.
Yeah. Yeah, let's talk about you know what, Christian?
No.
Interesting. Interesting.
Sorry, I triggered some of you people. You know, like I say, there's no demons. I don't think demons are quite what we make them out to be, if there are such a things. Maybe they can scratch you. Maybe something from different realms can reach through and touch you.
It's always the dream part that's weird. It's weird that you can be attacked, quote unquote, attacked in a dream and wake up with like physical scratch marks on you that are in places that are impossible for you to reach personally.
That doesn't mean you can't get to them somehow or another. It's just too easy to say a demon scratched you. First off, why are you so unimportant that a demon's showing up? Like the person with the devil earlier. Like, come on, man. You can't just go straight to the top, man. You got to go through. It's bureaucratic. Obviously, it's hell. So it's going to be really bureaucratic. You think the bureaucracy we have to deal with is a headache? Try going to hell.
Well, I do believe it's run like a business, but outside of, if you want like the easiest way to explain why any demon would attack any no-name person, from a religious standpoint, there's a hatred for humanity because we are created in the image of God.
See, I don't see it that way. If there is,
you don't have to. I'm just saying from like a religious standpoint,
I understand
that's exactly what it is.
But that can't be the case because it's not always attacking people that are into God.
Even if you're not into God, you are still made in the image of God, and you're placed on a higher like pedestal than them. You know, why would God like these stupid humans instead of like angelic creation.
To me, it sounds like explanations humans wrote down. But
well, who else?
Let's just say there are something that can do things that we attribute to demons.
Sure, let's say that. I guess we'll go along with that for a second.
I mean, that's what our show's about. We talk about that kind of stuff. So
we do.
Theoretically, there's got to be some reality to some of our stories.
Yes, theoretically, right. Let's not call it what it is, but theoretically, we'll allow there's some.
And also, I've heard of instances where humans can manifest marks on them. Now, we can argue whether that's that they have the power within their mind to do that, or there's demons. I don't know, man. I don't think there's a way
Who are these people that are manifesting marks? Is it witchcraft?
I don't know if it's necessarily like a witchcraft thing, but certain people familiars will have like maybe a dream of something and they'll wake up with a mark. Now, obviously, not in all cases something's going to show up and mark these people just because they had a dream. I don't know how body magic work, Matt.
Well, nobody does, but it's fun to speculate all the same.
I'm not going to say that there's absolutely nothing to demons. I just don't think they're quite what we in a Western Christianized world has made them out to be. I think there's more to it if there are such things. And, I don't know if we'll ever find that out until we die.
And hopefully it's not at the hands of a demon.
Well, hopefully we're not. I mean, I don't care if I go at the hands of a demon as long as I don't have to hang out with them for the rest of eternity.
The stories that I've heard are not comforting. Actually, oh my God. You know what? I told you I watched that Angel Studios doc, right? That After Death.
I feel like you did tell me that.
First of all, everyone knows I love life after death stories, right? But one of the stories was so unnerving that I still think about it to this day. And it was this dude that was dying from some kind of organ failure or something, lying in a hospital bed, talking to his wife. And he realizes that he's passed away because he's trying to get his wife's attention. Like, hey, we're going to get through this. It's going to be okay. And she's just sitting there sobbing on his legs, right? Like just head in her hands, sobbing. And he gets mad at her because she's not reacting to him. He's like, what the hell, man? And so he gets up out of bed because he realized he's like, I feel kind of better. And he gets up and starts walking around, trying to talk to her, still no reaction. And he goes out into the hallway. And in the hallway, there are I want to say 4 or 6 cloaked figures, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he says in the documentary, he's like, I don't know how I knew, but I knew that I couldn't go back in my room. And I knew that it wasn't a physical thing. I just knew I wasn't allowed to go back in my room. And these, one of these entities, I don't remember, I'm just going to kind of paraphrase it because I don't know the exact wording, but they're pretty much like, he's been expecting you to follow us. And he's like, okay. And so he's in the middle of these 6 to 8 entities or whatever, cloaked figures walking down the hallway of the hospital. And it slowly gets darker and darker and darker. And they start pushing him, pretty much hey, we need to speed up. We got to get there. It's going to be all right. It's going to be all right. And he's asking questions yo, where are we going? What am I doing? What am I doing here? And it gets to the point where it's pitch black. He's being shoved through this crowd of people pretty much. And he at some point realizes, I don't think I should have trusted these people. And he gets pushed or knocked over or something like that. And he's asking for help to get up or something. They start jumping on, punching him, being yelling at him, screaming at him, literally kicking the shit out of this dude, picking him up, punching him back down. At this point, clearly realizes oops, I fucked up. And he thinks he's in hell or some shit like that, starts praying. And this light opens from the heavens or whatever, comes down, grabs him, pulls him back up, light speed, you're going through some kind of time warp tunnel. And he ends up coming back, resuscitated or something in that hospital bed with his wife sitting there. And there was something about the visual of that just scared the shit out of me. The idea that you're just moseying down a hallway, what's that? And just being rushed. No, we got to keep going, man. Keep going. We're almost there. We're almost there. And then they start harassing you, beating you. He said at one point they ripped his eyeball out. Oh, dude. The visuals I had when I was going to bed after that, I'm I really shouldn't have watched that before. And this was supposed to be a wholesome, Christian documentary or something, but
no such thing.
I'm telling you, the actual filming of it, I love a good theatrical documentary, and for something like this I feel you need it because it's almost like that documentary The Nightmare, where it's just shot so well that it pulls you in even further, and then the stories themselves are amazing. But yeah, I come back to that story of that dude in the hospital so often that it freaks me out.
You telling that story took me back to my favorite demons in film, and that was the demons or whatever the hell they were from Ghost.
There were demons and ghosts?
You don't remember them?
I haven't seen ghosts in so many years, dude.
Yeah. These things would, and they just, I don't know if they were robed, but I got the same vibe.
Yeah. Where it's pretty much you just see like this much of their mouth or whatever.
These, but it's been a long time. Probably like, I haven't watched Ghost since it came out, but I remember that part of it.
Now I feel like I have to watch Ghost again, if I'm ready for all that. All right. Speaking of creepy demons in cinema, we're going to talk about an experience in this next story about someone that was reminded of the demons from Constantine.
Which are also
incredibly creepy.
Those are the scariest demons I've ever seen.
I think it's safe to say, yeah.
I can't wait to see them again.
Well, luckily you don't have... Oh, yeah, there's going to be a second one, right?
Yeah, finally.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Anyway, this is called Devil in the Backseat, and it's by Edna Udave. It says, about 8 years ago, when I was about 40 years old, my doctor told me I should start walking because it would be better for my health. Wow, who would have guessed? At the time, I lived in Anaheim and had developed a habit of walking a particular route through some neighborhood streets. This wasn't power walking or exercise. I was just casually strolling. My doctor's goal was simply for me to get out of the house, and he hoped I'd eventually work up to a more active pace. One day I was at the corner of a busy intersection waiting to cross the street. Cars were making right-hand turns in front of me, coming from my left and curving close as they turned. I stood on the corner, so I was close enough to see the drivers and passengers clearly. That's when I noticed an older car, probably from the late 80s or early 90s. It looked a bit beat up and had 3 older teenagers inside. 2 in the front and 1 in the back, sitting near the window closest to me. The teens looked somewhat disheveled, but the one in the back seat caught my attention. He looked even rougher than the others, thin, wiry black hair and a gaunt face. He appeared to be Latino, which wasn't unusual in the area where I lived, a middle-income, working-class neighborhood with a large Latin population, but something about him felt off. I kept my eye on him as the car approached, turning the corner just a few feet from where I stood. As the car turned, the boy in the back seat turned his head to face me, and then his face changed. It shifted. I mean, it literally transformed into what I can only describe as a demon's face. His features contorted, melting and stretching in ways that shouldn't have been possible. His eyes became huge, black, and hollow, and his mouth opened unnaturally wide like the exaggerated depictions you see in movies. It reminded me of the demons in Constantine or similar films. As he stared at me, he growled a low, guttural sound and hissed. I wasn't exactly scared, but I was deeply concerned for the 2 people in the front seat. As the car continued to drive past me, the boy turned his head forward again as if nothing had happened. I was overwhelmed by the urge to run after the car and warn the people in the front that they either had someone possessed or something inhuman in the back seat. But I knew there was no way I could catch up to them. As I walked home, I replayed the moment over and over in my mind. At the time, I was a staunch atheist. I didn't believe in anything supernatural, but I couldn't explain what I had just witnessed. I told myself it might have been carbon monoxide or exhaust fumes from the cars causing me to hallucinate, but I was healthy and had never experienced anything like that before or since. For the next 3 or 4 months, I continued walking the same path, but nothing similar ever happened again. Eventually, I came to terms with the fact that I had seen a demon. I stopped trying to rationalize it away and accepted it as reality. The experience shook my beliefs so deeply that I can no longer call myself an atheist. I now consider myself agnostic. The thought that demons might exist has forced me to consider the existence of their opposites, angels. And if angels and demons are real, then isn't the existence of a god at least possible? I've shared my story with friends, though many of them, particularly those who are atheists, don't believe me. That's hard for me to accept because I am not someone who lies. I value honesty and integrity, and the people in my life know me as a moral, kind, and truthful person. I've never done drugs, I don't drink or smoke, and I'm in good health, physically and mentally. I wasn't depressed or experiencing any form of psychosis. I am a normal, healthy person, and I know what I saw. If you're reading this, it might be because you've had a similar experience. For those who haven't, please understand that just because something hasn't happened to you doesn't mean it isn't real for someone else. I wouldn't wish this kind of encounter on anyone, but I hope my story provides some validation for others who might be struggling to understand their own experiences. Man, the melting, I can picture it. That's the thing. Like whenever someone talks about like contorting faces and like elongated mouths and always reminded of Constantine, and there's like pretty much every other demon movie out there.
I'm reminded of my first trip to hell.
When you're on acid or whatever?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those faces did contort in exactly
That's creepy.
the way that this person's saying.
Yeah.
I thought I was in the car with demons, 2 demons that I'd known.
Your whole life? You're like, what?
Maybe not my whole life, but they were my cousin's good friends. So I saw them a lot. So I get the imagery. I mean, mine was an altered mind, so you can't trust that those were really demons.
But who's to say? Maybe it's a gateway, or like it opens your third eye or whatever it's called.
I don't know about that, but still a fascinating story. Be great to expand on it, on what a demon sitting in a car with teenagers would be doing.
I think pretty much every car that has teenagers in it is probably occupied by some demonic forces to some extent.
I mean, they do go through their demon years when they're teenagers.
That's true. I guess I just wonder what the point of that is. You know what I mean? This one completely one-off instance never happened before, never happened after. You witness this demon, let's call it just expose its face to you or like reveal its true nature or whatever. Like, why it had zero purpose in that person's life outside of altering, I guess, their perspective on the supernatural or the existence of demons and angels and whatnot. And even not fully, they're just like, well, I guess now I'm agnostic because I have no idea what to make of this, but I can't be an atheist anymore.
I mean, if you really thought it was a demon, then maybe you should take that next step and not be agnostic. But whatever, man, you do you.
Yeah. But I do think, it feels like a healthy progression, right? To not just like latch onto some religion immediately after being like, I'm no longer an atheist. I am now this.
I mean, I do like the fact that they didn't just run.
Yeah.
But still.
Gotta take your time.
Whatever, man. I don't think they saw a demon. I think they saw something weird, and we can argue about whether that was in their head or...
And we're not going to, because we're not the answer.
I do that all the time.
Yeah, it's good to switch it up every now and then, Christian,
Like, I personally don't believe she saw a demon, but I mean, Constantine's demons were conjured up from the imagination of somebody that maybe had seen him before.
And there's drawings, there's old art and stuff like that of demonic entities. And
yeah. Like
supposed,
the earlier story where the guy is greeted by people in robes. I'm like, why are they wearing robes? That just seems ridiculous.
Classic stuff, really.
I mean, I would like my demons to wear clothes so that they don't freak me out too quick.
You don't want any demon dong swinging around your face, no doubt.
No, but robes just a little on the nose.
Maybe it's the mystery of them.
I think
if it was spandex, I'd be sending a completely different message, and you're like, "Whoa, okay."
What if it was like 1980s aerobics outfits?
That
would truly be demonic.
Vibrant zebra pattern, pink zebra pattern,
whatever the hell was going on back there. I grew up in it and probably were attracted to some of those aerobics people, but yeah, still weird.
Very strange.
Proof of Satan.
There you have it. Proof of Satan. Let's see. I have one more that we can, I guess, close it out on. And we probably won't touch. This is such a strange story, but this is one I was talking about at the end of the last episode, I think. And since I already kind of teased it a little bit, I will use it to close this episode out. It's called God Saved Our Tree.
Tree?
Tree, yeah. And it's by Carrie DeLeo.
Finally, God acts like he cares about
This
Mother
is
Nature.
A weird story. And yeah, oh my God. Okay, here we go. It says, my sister and I were the only girls in our neighborhood full of boys. One day, as we were playing in the yard, 2 girls walked up and asked if they could play. The older of the 2 said they were cousins of so-and-so who lived a road over from ours. And they were told girls lived here and to see if we wanted to play.
That's so weird. Like, that doesn't happen very often.
Yeah. Hey,
at
some
least
girls live over there. Go see if they want to play.
At least not in the area we grew up in.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, you would just randomly like, hey, you're a kid. You want to play?
Yeah. Hey, we're 2 kids. What are we going to do? Yeah.
Now, if you take your son somewhere and a kid comes up and talks to him, he's like, what the hell?
Get out here, you little bastard.
He looks at them like they're demons.
And they might be. I've seen some kids. Anyway, I was 12 at the time. My sister was 8. The older girl looked to be 12 or 13, and the other girl was much younger, like 6. Anyhow, the older girl decided we should play house, to which we all agreed. My sister and the younger girl went to look for food, which consisted of mud pies with daffodil decorations, etc., and we decided to look for a house. The girl said to me that this tree would be a good house. She said we would need beds. She then proceeded to reach up and pull huge branches off the tree. When she did, it made a loud cracking sound. She lays them on the ground, saying this will be our bed. I remember being very scared at that moment. I knew that there was no way this scrawny girl could pull off branches that big. These things were not tiny limbs, but huge round branches thicker than our legs. My dad was in the garden across from where we were. Our property was pretty big, about 5 acres. My dad had heard the branches cracking. My dad is pretty particular about his property and his trees.
I'd be pissed.
I know, yeah. He came running across the field, shouting for her to stop it. She just continues pulling branches off the trees. My little sister and the other girl had stopped their mud pie gathering. The smaller girl started to cry. My dad finally reached us and he said, "In Jesus' name, stop it." I knew my dad was upset and exasperated from her damaging his trees. That little girl turned around and looked at my dad with a voice way too deep to be a child, more like a man, said, "We do not worship your God." My dad immediately rebuked it and told it to leave our property. The girl turned on her heel, grabbed the little girl by the hand, and they ran like they were on fire, all the way down the driveway that went across our property to the back end. When they had stepped from the driveway to the dirt road, she stopped, turned, and looked over her shoulder at us. She gave us the most horrible look. She then took off towards the other road, nearly dragging the 6-year-old. My dad had been praying the whole time she went down that driveway. Once she was gone, my dad grabbed us both in a huge bear hug, and he was thanking God that nothing happened to us. He then went to look at the limbs that were pulled off the tree. I could tell by the look on my dad's face that what she had done was impossible for a girl. The branches were very heavy, even for my dad, who stood at 6'2". That was my first experience. Even though there have been more, I knew from a young age that demons were real.
It's a fucking little girl.
Isn't it kind of like, it's number one, weird ass story. I will say that's probably one of the weirder ones we've covered.
That is pretty weird.
Evil. But isn't it strange that that first neighborhood full of boys, 2 random girls show up. One of them, you're playing house, and she just starts ripping these gigantic branches off your tree, like not tiny. She said they were the size, like thickness of their legs. I'm picturing that. I'm like, I don't think a 12-year-old girl's gonna be able to rip into some wood like that. I don't know.
We're all calling her a demon. She's probably like a young superhero that they haven't discovered yet.
Possibly. I mean, the man's voice is kind of creepy as well.
What did she say again? She
won't worship your God or something.
That's pretty crazy. Pretty crazy story. The fact, the dad praying like that. I mean, I
was just freaking out. Like,
I don't believe in that stuff. But if a little girl like that turned to me and said that, I'd be like,
well, I'm going to start praying right now just to be safe.
I'd call my daughter. I'm like, I'm going to church with you Sunday, just this one time. I need to cleanse my soul.
Yeah, I don't even know how I'd react to something like that.
I probably wouldn't say in the name of Jesus, stop tearing apart my tree, but I would say something similar.
I'd probably just start swinging.
You can't swing at kids, man.
If you feel there's a demon,
this isn't the 60s or 70s.
If you feel they might be demonic, you can absolutely swing on a kid.
You can, but
as long as no one else is going to catch you and no one sees it. Oopsie.
We don't condone violence.
We don't.
Of that sort.
Unless it's a demon, again, have to reiterate.
But it has to be, you have to hit it hard enough to where it's stuck in its demon form, because you don't want to explain why you were punching on kids.
The demon just leaves the child and like, why does my son have a black eye? Well, first of all, you got to know firsthand there was a demon.
Yeah.
These things happen. I don't know. What a strange story. I was like, part of me is like, did that happen? But then the other part of me was like, who would make that story up? Like, that's not even like a good story. That's such a weird story.
I mean,
to just pull out of your ass.
It just could be your memories are all screwed up later on when you're remembering this, but still, it is a pretty crazy story.
Yeah. So
also, don't play with any more kids from that block. Especially
if they want you to make mud pies and fucking play house with tree branches.
I mean, I've made mud pies before.
What is that?
It's just mud.
How do you carry it?
You just pat it together or put it in a bowl or something. It's just mud. It's just mud.
I thought it had to like dry into something that you could carry around. No, it's just like slapping mud in your hands?
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, Kids don't stick with something that long to wait for it to dry.
I guess it really do be like that sometimes. Anyhow,
I think I expect some comments on these stories.
oh, I'm sure there's going to be
some pretty good ones.
There's some very interesting stories in this episode. And I feel like the weird demon stories, evil stories, all that, like, because it's so open for individual perspective that I like hearing everyone's thoughts on these things. And that's really all I got for you guys.
I would say, if you think you've seen a demon, aside from going to buy some sage, you might want to look at your own demons right then, because there's the universe or God is trying to tell you something.
Open your eyes.
Look within first.
Yeah. Pull the demons out of your own eyes before you pull them from your neighbors.
If it's a dangerous situation, you might want to pray. But if it's just like, oh, I saw a demon and he scared me. Why did you see that demon?
Just out and about for a stroll.
I mean, demons just don't go out and about just for a stroll.
I mean, we honestly don't know too much about the day-to-day workings of demons, but I figured they got to get bored too.
It's like you're a demon and you're at home. It's like, Beelzebub, where are you going? I'm going.
Just gonna go make some mud pies and play house.
I'm going on a soul stroll.
A soul stroll.
I'll be back with some friends.
You gotta pay the troll toll if you want to get this boy's hole. Yeah, so God, such a great Danny DeVito line. It's Always Sunny.
Mm-hmm.
Such a good show. Anyone that hasn't watched It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, there's too many good moments in that show. Classic television moments. Maybe that's why I need to rewatch. I need a new show. Anywho, that's all I got for everyone.
Creature Commando.
Weird flex, but okie dokie. We'll see you guys right back here next week, where maybe Christian's doing an episode on something. We'll find out. It depends on if I call him again to come over and record.
Yeah.
Aha.
Like, I'm going to have a relaxing day. I'm going to go to the spa.
Yeah.
And get a text. You want to record tomorrow?
At the spa? No, thanks. Anyway, goodbye, everyone.
Peace out.
Bigfoot is stalking by your window. Dogman is scratching at your door. Ghosties are walking up and down your halls at night. And the Hat Man is coming back for more. Your name is Christian. You love a can of beans. And you're the wettest blanket skeptic this world has ever seen. You're almost always wrong. It's quite an impressive streaky. The song has rambled on too long. Welcome to the freaky deaky. Your name is Christian. You're named ironically, because the only belief you have can be found in a can of beans. You're almost never right, and now you get roasted weekly. This song has rambled on too long. Welcome to the freaky deaky. Also, ghosts exist, just an FYI. Aliens are feeling blue. The Ouija demons lonely because they believe in you. In you. In you. They believe in They believe in you.